Hello, and welcome to Terraria Completionism Part 2. In this part, I'm going to be touring the rest of the main compound, and most specifically the party tree, which is sort of the main pièce de résistance this episode. I'm going to be blowing bubbles as I go. So last time, I ended up in this tin brick tunnel, and what we have here is a large hole in the ground. And now what this actually is there's an entrance into this hole from above, from the main courtyard, and this is the garden that I showed off in part 1. What this is, historically, is there was actually a house here, and this used to be, this was the first hell tunnel in the world that we built. And I eventually replaced that house with this party house above, which I'll get to later. And this is still a hell tunnel, but there's a whole bunch of decorations on the way down. Now, we're going to be going to the west here and exploring the western end of the plateau. Right here you have tree roots, and this is actually the bottom, or part of the bottom side of the party tree. And I have to thank Michael right here, because he's the one who helped me make the tree roots and make him look this good. So right over here you have copper brick pipe and pipe wallpaper poking out. It's all painted brown because the idea here is that the tree's actually sort of grown through it and it's sort of decaying and rusted and no longer in use. And you have copper wallpaper sticking out all over the place to show that there's like pipes and stuff in the room. Now this is actually the inside of the tree right here. We're gonna go up into it later on, but right now, the idea is that it actually sort of disappears. It disappears into the background here and goes to the depth. It doesn't actually go all the way down below us. It disappears into the third dimension, which we don't have access to. This honeyfall block pipe I'll get to later as well. I'm just gonna cover this copper brick area first. So what this is this whole area is sort of very sewer themed, and I'll get to touring most of it in another part. But the idea is that this is actually a copper pipe, and this entire area is part of what used to be an ancient Coran bathhouse. A bathhouse that was basically used by the Coran civilizations to take baths and have parties and just relax and chill. And what it really was it was an excuse for me to use copper brick in an interesting way, and also make a room that used up every single kind of bathtub, which I sort of wanted to do, kind of like the library in part 1. So what you have here is you have basically all the different bathtubs. The ones in this first upper section are all the wooden ones, as well as the sort of nature-themed ones. You have pumpkin and mushroom right there. These copper brick fountains are fountains, and they're pouring water down below, and you have water coming in through pipes and pouring down. So it's kind of like the bathtub. The bathtub itself has these like waterfalls, and you can it's almost like a water park. You can just lay down and relax and chill. It's all designed for one's relaxation. And you actually see this is the canyon on the western end of the plateau. This is where the desert begins, and this is the western edge of the Coran Plateau, where the rest of their civilization, what remains of it, is further to the west. And you have the water pouring out of the bathhouse along the walls of this canyon at one part. Right, and you have a fountain right here that's actually orange, and the reason it's orange is because the idea is that the water that's coming through this fountain is actually rusted, or there's, like, the pipe is very old, so it's coming up orange and dirty. And I just put that there because it was interesting. And down here we have more fountains, and we have some of the fancier bathtubs in the game, like Martian, glass, etc. And the idea here is this perhaps a more lavish area for, it's larger for sort of larger parties or bath parties, or for more important people. And what these people would do is they would have their bath parties with water that was flaked in gold. So water that would be flaked in gold, and you can hit a switch to turn on the gold flaking, because what's more ostentatious than taking a bath in gold flaked water? And hell, if you're gonna flake some water in gold, why not also flake some water in platinum? Huh? Yeah, so basically the idea is that this is literally water that's has platinum in it, which is why it looks like that. I don't know if that would actually happen in real life, but, you know, it's an interesting idea. I also have to keep in mind that, so we're going to come up to the top of the canyon right here. This canyon, this whole, like, sandstone brick area, this is just, like, if you imagine the canyon, you know, going, you know, forward and back through the Z direction, the only one part of it has this, like, sandstone wall, and along that wall face you have the pipes sticking out and the water from the bathhouse pouring out. So what we're in here, this is a library. This is the Mudstone Library. It's a very old library. It's one of the earliest things I built right after I made parts of this copper brick area. It was just an excuse to make another library. I was thinking of what kind of buildings would exist in a main compound like this, and what kind of large buildings we'd have. And I put this on the western edge because it's supposed to be right below the western guard towers. This is sort of the entrance to the plateau from the western end, and you have this library right underneath. People could visit it and consult it. And this right here is sort of like just a average break room. There's a few banners and there's some food and tables and stuff. This entire so I guess we're moving up into this building now. This entire building is a guard tower. It's one of the 3 guard towers that exist on the plateau, on the western and northern ends of it. The western and northern ends of it opposite the eastern end, which has the actual main castle. So it actually does sort of function like a guard tower because it's pretty well designed for defending yourself against pirate attacks and stuff like that. And I did put all those event banners here because this is how I use them. The idea is that it also sort of functions like a barracks. You have, you know, you have beds up here where presumably soldiers or guards would live, and they take their refuge, and there's cannons in case of an attack or something to that effect. What the overall use of this place is in terms of items is this is just where I would store all kinds of equipable items that I didn't have any room for anywhere else. So it ended up being like an armory, but not my personal armory. You know, so there's just a whole bunch of items here that I don't use. You know, all the melee weapons, you know, armors, various defense weapons, range weapons, etc. No magic weapons, because the magic weapons go in the wizard's room, which we saw in part 1. This is just for the soldiers, and that's basically what you get. So yeah. I'm also thinking that there's actually not that many people that live on the plateau, in the Coran Plateau. It's not like a city. The plateau is pretty small. The Corans in their ancient world used it for several buildings. They didn't really, you know, several fancy-ass buildings. They didn't really have room for just like thousands of people don't live here. As you see, there's another tower in the background right there. And this is the tree, and I'm going to get to the tree later. I just want to explain. You have another tower over here. These are the towers to the north, and there's a canyon behind them that they're guarding, and there's actually bridges over there as well, and you could enter the castle from that end, and you'd have to go around the building at some point, because the entrance is on the other side. That's why you don't see a door. But anyway, that's the idea here. And so I tried kind of hard to make it seem like there's a third dimension here. So there's like a Z direction, and there's stuff in the background. And, I mean, I realize that it doesn't fully make sense the way I've explained this castle and the way I've explained this plateau, because the idea is that the castle is built on top of a hill / inside of a hill, and, I mean, you wouldn't guess that based on how it's designed. It looks just sort of like this is a normal entrance. And part of that has to do with the fact that the castle was designed and built before I came up with that explanation, because when I was making it, I didn't know the game very well, and I didn't know all the details and all the stuff I could and wanted to build, so it ended up just being very gargantuan and sort of, you know, just oddly just huge and expansive, and it didn't, you know, fit that well, so I came up with this explanation to make structural sense later on. And I also just want to explain how, I mean, I realize that the idea here is, like, if I was to just build a castle and a village from the get-go, from scratch, I would probably do it very differently now. I would make it much more realistic, much more medieval, and whereas here you have a whole bunch of different themes, but that's also because this whole world is an amalgam of different themes, And I especially had to stick a lot of things very close together in the main hub, because the main area had to be a hub. I had to have access to a lot of different crafting stations. I had to have access to all the different items, banners, everything, the party items. I had to have access to all of that different stuff. So that's why you see so much stuff. That's why you see so much different stuff here like that, and not just the most gritty, realistic kind of castle, which is what you'd expect. Anyway, enough about that diversion. Getting back to it, right here you have a party house. So the idea here is that the people of the main compound, however many dozens of people live here, this is where they would have parties. This is the place, to store presents and streamers and balloons, and there's balloon machines, and this is actually where I would trigger a party. I'm going to do that right now. The walls are, the doors, there's no actual doors. This is just like smoke block that's painted white. The idea is that it's a cool entrance to the building. It's also one of the few ways I've used smoke blocks, because honestly I didn't think that smoke blocks are that useful. Right here we have a music room. So see music wallpaper and a whole bunch of music boxes, which I'm actually going to turn one on, because it's actually, hold on, I'll turn on that one. And the same thing over here, more music boxes, and the wall of this room is actually every different kind of gemspark block wall, but they're set up in such a way where no two tiles have of the same color are touching. And up here you have, so this is the only room that you can live in the glass party house, and it's just sort of a glass room with a whole bunch of different candles. And what I did was I just took all the exotic candles in the game and I put them together. And you also have lava lamps. And why I did that I can't really say, but I think they look really interesting together. So these are the more exotic ones, like granite. I'm going to put that back. Over here you have a room with purple rain wallpaper, and I honestly don't even know too much about what this room is. I think this idea was this is just sort of a room for socializing or storing presents, and there's a whole bunch of different fire on the ground, which is supposed to be sort of interesting to look at, I guess, and a glass floor where you can look down at it. It's just supposed to be a sort of a cool, a cool, interesting experience kind of room, and that's really all that is. And there's balloon animals and shit on the ceiling. And up here, we're gonna go up, and this is bubblegum block. And I originally, when I was going through all the different kinds of hard mode brick kind of items to see what I could build with them, bubblegum block struck me as a very party kind of material, so I used it here. And I'm storing party items here, of course, and all of them fireworks, etc. There's a bubble room, there's bubble blocks painted pink, and balloons, and everything like that, and there's fireworks. I'm going to shoot some fireworks. Leave the music on, and this is where people party, and this is the type of thing you'd expect to happen on celebrations or holidays within the main castle for the NPCs and other people. And over here you have giant balloons, because how else would I use, the balloons in the game but to make giant balloons? I have a normal shaped balloon, a rhombus, and a dung bell. That's basically that. And they're all with the same kind of streamer as well. So yeah, that's basically the idea of this area. It's sort of a main party area and a nice little garden for the denizens of the main compound. Now let's move on to the tree. And I have to say that in the past, this entire area, like this originally was where the world basically started. This all looked like complete garbage. This glass house, the Confetti party house, was actually a shittier house a friend of mine built. I tore it down and put the house in this room into his chests. So these chests are actually the remainders of his house. And this tree, I'm going to explain, but this tree is actually... This used to be just a normal living wood tree, and I made it a lot bigger and put a lot of different materials in it. And you recall the honeyfall pipe that you see here, it's going up. We're going to get to where it goes later. So I used, around the time, I was really concerned with using all the different kinds of wood in the game. So you have shade wood, ebon wood, and boreal wood, and the idea is that these three rooms are pretty much used for NPCs that typically live far away, like the dye trader who lives in the desert, and the angler who lives in the fishing huts, and the pirate who lives in the ocean. So that's what you have here. Little homes for them and a few little decorations that are typical of them. Up here you have Kona, the barbarian, and you have a small living wood house with some potion materials and a potion making place itself. You know, just like you have with the wizard, because, well, Kona seems like the type of guy who'd do that kind of stuff as well. And this was originally a place for me to store potion ingredients. And it's also sort of a very, like, mini version of Kona's actual home in the jungle, which we'll get to much, much later. I don't even know when, but it's an eventual plan. You see the pipe still going up. So yeah, that's what this place is. Just nice, homey little interlude as we go up the tree. And now we're up the tree, and this is the party tree. And the idea with the party tree is that the party tree is basically decorated every time there's a party. There's parties in the confetti glass party house and also parties up here. So you have streamers and presents and balloons. It's decorated for a birthday party. Of course you have, you know, various bookcases and stuff as well, because this place is actually used as a bit of a brewery by Kona and Zilia, the Dryad, whenever they visit this area. But it's also redecorated for Halloween and Christmas. Of course, I'm not going to actually redecorate the tree every Christmas and Halloween, because that's stupid, so I'm just going to say, wow, it's decorated for a party this day. Because there's other parts of the world that are decorated for Halloween and Christmas anyway. So we're going to follow the pipe and see where that goes. And where that goes is here, the honeycomb. Now, what this is it's basically a way to make infinite honey. I have 3 pumps, and I can turn them on, and with how you make liquids in the game, this is what they do. The only difference is it's done in such a way where it's perfectly in theme with how Terraria works, right? So you have a honey pump here. Oh, wow, that actually turns off that torch. I'm going to move that. I'm just going to move that over there. Interesting. Anyway, so I'm going to turn that off, but that's the idea here, and as soon as I realized that there was honey in this room, I knew that I had to make a honeycomb. It was the most sensible thing to make. And here you have a honey house, which, as you can see, it's made of honey blocks, and I put the honey platforms everywhere so you don't actually have to touch the floor, because touching the floor makes it slow. I really love the effect of honey dripping from the ceiling and honey fall wall dripping down. It looks very interesting and sort of like it's melting and stuff. There's also a teleporter here to the Nexus, which we're not going to get to in this video. But yeah, you could live here, and toilet's the only thing that's not made out of honey. But yeah, that's about it. And various honey-themed materials, I have many of them. So yeah, and no NPC actually lives in this place, because I think there's a problem with this kind of wall, but yeah, that's that. So, let's move up here, and up here there's another sort of honey... this like honey block sort of goes a little up and behind this hallway, and this hallway is covered in honey as a result, and it's melting down from the wall. So now we're going to go up into this Sky Island, or should I say Sky Slimeland. So I just replaced all the dirt blocks with slime blocks and built a slime house up here, and that's what you have. And the idea originally was that there would be some sort of slime-making factory up in the Sky Islands, because when there's a slime event, the slimes come from the sky. So I felt like that made the most sense. But that never happened. Instead, I just made this. And I feel like making some sort of slime factory-like thing would be interesting, but it would also... It would take me a long time, and there's things sort of like that in the game. I might make that eventually, but the idea that Sky Slimelands like this one exists suggests that other ones like this exist, and that there is some sort of... The slimes of the world are actually generated in the sky by some factory or some entity, something. We shall see. The history of the Sky Islands is something I might get to a little later, but they weren't... The Sky Islands were built by the precursors, not even the Corans. So the slimes would have to be their creation. And before we go to the other part of the tree, I just want to go over here and just show off the inside of the tree. It's a little bad because it's kind of dark and raining, but you see the detail here. It's really, really cool. All the branches, and I used deactuated blocks to represent branches that are far in the distance, and it's very tree-like. And I suppose that's the idea. Anyway, moving on here. So this, as you see, there's Halloween decorations. You have jack-o'-lanterns. You have pumpkin-themed, jack-o'-lantern themed lights. This right here is a Pearlwood house for Fantasy, the party girl. Yep, she gives me all my fantasies. Anyway, yeah, so more streamers, because right now it's decorated for a birthday party. Up here you have, this is where Zilia is living. This is actually the Halloween party house. This is where Halloween parties would take place. Is in this room, and this chamber down here made of bone blocks is sort of supposed to be kind of like a spooky chamber. Also, don't underestimate how close this is to the castle. It's actually meant to be pretty sort of far away, and remember, you still have a Z direction to look in, so it's not actually like jutting up against this wall in an uncomfortable way. And there's balloons everywhere because it's still decorated for a party. And lastly, we come to this. Now, what this is the midnight confetti block, basically club house. It's a club. So the party tree is used for all kinds of parties as well as night parties in the club, and that's what this is for. Night parties in the club. You have the disco balls there. You have a few streamers. This is supposed to be a dance floor, and I actually automated all of these Gemspark blocks to light up in a sequence, in a light show, like so. Ha. Could turn on some music right there. It's a little spooky. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, that's what you got here. And this was actually made, I designed this before it was actually the, before the update came out with yellow wire and junction boxes, so it was actually kind of tricky, and the wires are kind of going all over the place. It was annoying to design it like this, but it actually worked perfectly well. The bottom one goes out, and the top one goes in, and that's what you get there. Now, I don't like this music. I'm going to turn on something else. No, I don't like that either. Okay. So again, you have another music room up here, which more music boxes. This was just enough to place all the music boxes. It's a mirror to the confetti party house below. This is just another purple rain wallpaper. This is another chill party room. I store more decorations here and music boxes there, and lava lamps, etc., and glass. And this is all made out of platinum brick, by the way, because platinum brick looks kind of cool and not just confetti block. Up here we got some pig granadas, because it's sort of a party, and again the same, it's the same Gemspark wall design as below. Well, it's not the exact same design, but it's a similar kind of thing. So that's what you have here, and you of course have storage of fireworks and stuff like that. This teleporter actually just takes us back right here to this party house. You can use it to easily go up and down the tree, and this is the top of the tree. And you have balloons and balloon machines making balloons, making everything pretty, and, confetti cannons and stuff like that. And that is effectively it for this episode. Whoosh. Woo! Party house! Party hard, folks. Party hard. The holidays are coming up. Hopefully we'll get to Christmas by then. Alright? Farewell. Cheers.